Hello, my Zentangle friends. This is Barbara Langston, CZT, Certified Zentangle Teacher, and I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Not Perfect Zen. And today I'm very grateful for all the other people who freely share what they've learned on whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. I came across a post recently by Verena Bossert, and this was on Instagram, and this is the tile that she did. And after sharing the tile, she decided to share how she did the string. And this is a printout that she shared on Instagram, and she gave her permission to me to share this with you. And so I'm going to show you how to make the string, and then I'm going to give you a few tips about drawing paradox inside this. And the first thing I'll do is switch to the video where I made the string, and then I'll come back and show you the rest. Okay, I've had to put this paper at an odd angle, so forgive me if it looks odd, but to keep my hand out of the way. So I'm just putting a couple of light marks so that I have the center of where I want to put my compass. I'm going to do this in pencil just because it's easily messed up. I guess I should say, if I do it with ink. Okay, so this is a 6-inch square, and I'm going to come out, and set my compass about halfway, set it in the center, and do my first circle. This is not easy to do with the camera between me and the paper. Okay, so I have my first center circle, and I'm going to go just anywhere on this outer circle and start my next step. This is the most important thing to remember, is you're going to go to the center. Okay, can you see that, where our X is? And I'm going to come around, and when I get to the outside of that circle, I'm going to stop. Okay, so this is what we're going to do for all of the rings. Let me show you what happens if you make the full circle, which is what I did the first time. You end up with a flower in the center, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something more like this, okay? And for this one, I've already put the extra lines. But let's look again at what she showed us. So the way to get that is to start with your line in the center, come around, and then stop at the outside of that first line. I don't know what just happened. Sorry, I lost something on my screen. Okay, so that's what we're looking for on each one of these. So let's go back. So I've done my first one. I'm going to put my compass just where that first circle meets the outside of the circle. Oops. And then do my next circle, stop on the line. And you can do this with a pen, but the first time I did it with pencil, and then I went over it with ink, whatever is best for you. but I had a tendency, and I'll show you here, to go like that. Okay, and that was just done on purpose. And when that happens, at least I can go back and erase it. Where if you've done it with ink and it's easy to slip, then with pencil, I found I did a better job. Not to be a perfectionist, but I want this to look right. All right, come around and stop there. Go to where that meets. Start in the center. Make your next circle. And it didn't meet up exactly right, but it's okay. I'm going to go to the center there. Make my next line. And it's close enough. So there we have the basic part of this mandala string. Okay, and then I'm going to go over it with ink, and then I'll show you the next part. Okay, so I mentioned in the video that it's probably good to do this in pencil, and I'm a little bit picky on making the string because I want it to meet. I want these lines to meet, okay? And so if they don't meet up exactly right, it's okay if you've done it in pencil, because you can come back and fix it when you're doing this, going over the outline with pen. So I'm just gonna say, for instance, right here, I'm gonna go ahead and go over this part. And then I'll just come a little bit closer to that line and bring it down. And then I'll come back and erase that. So, for example, here also, where this doesn't meet up, when I bring my line down, I'll come a little bit closer to that and then bring it down to the center. And for this right here where it doesn't meet, I'll zoom in a little bit more. Then when I bring this part here, I'll just have it meet right there at that line. Okay, so I would just be making sure that each of these meet at the same point. So I'm going to do this kind of quickly. I'm going to finish my inner circle first. And we're going to have so many lines on here that it won't matter a lot. But I do want my lines to cross at the same point. And this string for this mandala can be used in a lot of ways. But Verena filled it with paradox. And that's one of my favorite patterns. It can be very confusing, but once you figure it out, to me, it's a very nice line meditation. It's one of my favorite patterns. Okay, so we're just going over that. pattern with ink. And if you can see right here, it doesn't exactly meet, so I'm just going to have it fixed. And I'll erase the lines that I don't need, like right there in the center where I marked my X. Yeah, it took me a couple of times to figure this pattern out because, oops, that's okay. The first time I did it, I made the flower in the center, and that's not what we want for paradox. And of course, if you don't need this part, you can fast forward. I'm also hoping to put maybe a little table of contents on this one that will allow you to get to the part that you need. Okay, have that one meet up. Now, if I wanted to fix this, I could do a line and then come back with a jelly roll pen and just go over that line. We're going to end up with so many lines in here that it really won't show up that much, but I could go over that a couple of times. And I'm going to erase my X and a couple of spots where I can see my pencil. Be sure you wait until your ink has dried. Okay, like I say, I'll go over that part again after it gets dry. The next thing you're going to do is put a straight line down the center of each of these because we want this filled with triangles. And each one of these triangles is going to have paradox. Okay, there we go. There is our mandala string. So I want to show you a couple of things about paradox. When you do paradox, like in a triangle, and you have a triangle right next to another one, then there are two different ways that paradox will show up. It will look like what I call a fan, and I'm talking about this part right here, how that looks like a fan, or it will look kind of twisted, which is like that. Okay, so this one looks like a fan, and this one looks twisted. And let me show you how that works. I'm going to show you first this one, how it looks like a fan. So for paradox, you're always going to start at a point, and we're going to make a straight line that gets bigger. So we're going to go from small and get it bigger. Okay, then you're going to turn your tile, or in this case, I'm just going to try not to spin it too many times for you. We're going to start small and go big again. And I'm going to try to keep the distance at the end about the same. So I'm going to turn. Again, start at a small point and get bigger. Turn. Start from small to big. And if you just keep an eye on where your pen was, it's easy to remember where you're starting again. Okay, so I ended there. Always start at the last point. Okay, start here. And then I'm not going to turn it this time. Okay, so there you go. That's one triangle filled with paradox. Now, to make the fan, then I'm going to want to start down here. See how this one comes up and gets bigger? So I'm going to start at the same point where it's small and bring it up to be bigger. Start small, go big, turn, start small. If you need to stop for some reason, to walk away, to answer the phone, like Rick said in his video, stop your line about halfway and then come back, finish your line. Okay, right there's where we're going to start. And again, I'm trying to get them about the same width. Some people like to do it really thin. I'm not doing that because I don't want this to take too long to show you this example. And if you can get this figured out, then it's a lot easier to do this pattern that we're about to do inside this mandala. Okay? So now you can see that these both look like the fan. Okay, for this pattern that she did, we want the twisted look all through it. Okay, you don't see any of the fans in here. So let me show you how to do the fan. Again, we're going to start the same way. I'm going to start small and it gets bigger. Start small to big. And when I first started doing paradox, I said that every time, small to big. And I still kind of hear that in my head when I'm doing this. But this is a very meditative, relaxing pattern to me, now that I know how to do it. Sometimes I can do it without turning the tile, but I definitely do better by turning it. Okay, so there's our first half of the twisted paradox. And if I started down here again, it would become the fan, and I don't want the fan. So I need to start my next paradox on the big side. Very important for this tile if you want it to have that twisted look like she did. So here's the big end of the triangle next to this one. So I'm going to start at that big end. Okay, turn your tile from small to big, small to big. And I made that one kind of fat, but it's okay. This is just teaching you what to do. When it gets a little smaller, it's easier for me to do a line and pull it toward me instead of always having to turn the tile. Okay, so there you go. Like I said, see, this is the fat end right here. So I need to start my next triangle with that end. All right, let's get started on this one. I'm going to go over this line just one more time with my jelly roll. You still see it. Okay. Okay, that's good enough. Odds are we won't see it, but I do use a jelly roll pen often for correction. Okay, since we just put jelly roll on that one, I'm going to start here. And it doesn't matter where you start on this, because once you get it going, all the rest will work as long as you remember what I told you about always starting at the end opposite of the big end. Okay, so let's start here. And it's going to have a little bit of a curve to it, but that's okay. Okay, find that where you just ended. Start small, go big, turn, start small, go big. And again, you're always going to start right where you ended. Okay. Trying to keep my hand out of the way, but still be close enough that you can see what I'm doing. And paradox can be done in almost any shape because it's just straight lines, starting small and going big. Start small and go big. And when I get to this point, it's a little bit easier for me to not have to turn it. Trying to keep them about the same size. Okay, so If I want to come to this square, or triangle, I'm sorry, if I started here, I would end up with a fan. I don't want a fan. I want it to be the same twist on each of these. So find for the triangle right next to this one, I'm going to start here. Try to make them all end about the same size. Okay. Start small, go big. Just keep an eye on where you were. Start big. I'm sorry, start small, go big. Verena did put arrows to help you out. And what I showed you, you could, if you need to, do a screenshot of that and print it out. Or just try to remember this little rule. You'll be able to get each one of these triangles done correctly. Okay, so that's exactly what we wanted, was the twist. And you'll do the same thing all the way around. Okay, so you could pick either one of these corners to decide where to start. So on this one, for this triangle, we're going to start in that corner and go in that direction. Okay, here's where I added the jelly roll for that correction. My dog is snoring a little bit in the background. Hopefully you don't hear that. Okay. Okay. So we have a twist and a twist. And then I can come up to this box. I'm sorry, keep calling it a box. This triangle. And I know that I need to start here because this is the big end of that triangle. Okay. So I'm hoping this makes sense. Start in that corner. Normally, paradox is a straight line. These are a little bit curved, but it still gives you the same effect. And it's very pretty. Okay, I'm not going to fill this whole thing in because you would be watching me for quite a while. But this should give you enough detail that we'll be able to do this. Okay, and I've just done this on cardstock so that you can see. And when I go to shade it, back out a little bit, I generally go where that curve is. So where these lines are meeting, I put my graphite there. Okay, same thing here. Where these lines all look like they're almost going under that twist. Okay, that's where I'm going to put my graphite. Some of these look more curved than the others, and it's just the way this pattern is. Okay, and then just take your blending stump. I missed one. Take your tortillon or blending stump. Oh, I missed another one. Okay, and then just soften it. I did try putting one of the fan type patterns in the outside just to see how it looked, and I didn't like it. This one definitely looks best with the twisted paradox inside of it. All right, there you go. There's the beginning of it. So this is the one that Verena did, and beautiful. She added a very nice border and some patterns on the outside. This is one that I did. There we go. The light looks a little better now. This was a piece of paper that was colored with Lindy's Magicals, and it's much prettier in person. I wish it would look better for you, but it's very nice. And I could go ahead and put more around the outside, but I just left it like that. And then this is another one that I did. And I used gray piece of paper. And this is actually well right here in these triangles. And then I rounded it, added some stripes and rounding on these. And then I meant to do it every other one and kind of messed up. These are kind of like skinny flecks in this. I added a double aura and filled it with Knightsbridge. And then the shading is done with a General's pastel pencil. So there you go. I hope that helps. I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope to see what you did. And there's lots of things that you could do with this mandala pattern. I hope to see what you've done on Instagram or Facebook, and have fun. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye.